How's it going, man? I'm Officer Lores, Clarkson Police Department. Put your phone down for a second. What do you got in your pocket there? Is that just something hanging off your backpack? What is that, a hanger? What are you doing with that? Is this your bike?
Yes.
It's your bike?
On June 24th, 2019, a 52-year-old man named Mark Domino rode his motorcycle to work at a retail store in Clarkston, Washington. His wife drove separately and parked on the other side of the lot. A completely ordinary morning. Nothing unusual, nothing suspicious. But one person in that parking lot thought differently. A woman named Jody Brunel watched Mark walk from one end of the lot to the other, watched him check his own car, and picked up her phone to dial 911. She told the dispatcher she saw a man getting into multiple doors of a vehicle, looking around, and then walking away. She wasn't sure if anything was taken. She wasn't even sure it wasn't his car. But she made the call anyway. Minutes later, Officer Chris Luries of the Clarkson Police Department pulled into that parking lot. And what followed next would spiral into a taser deployment, a physical altercation, a criminal arrest, multiple court hearings, and a $5 million tort claim against the city. All of it. In a Walmart parking lot. Over a man checking his own car. When Officer Luries approached Mark, he didn't introduce the situation. He didn't explain why he was there. He didn't ask a single clarifying question. Within 32 seconds of making contact, he was already ordering Mark to put his hands behind his back. 32 seconds. No context given. No investigation done. No attempt to simply walk over to that vehicle and check who it was registered to. Mark resisted. He asked repeatedly what he had done wrong. He said it was his bike. He said he worked there. He asked why he was being detained. Every question was met not with an answer, but with another command. Turn around. Put your hands behind your back. Do you want to get tased? The Supreme Court has been clear on this. Officers can legally stop and identify a person based on a tip from a witness, provided that tip carries enough reliable detail to establish reasonable suspicion. Given that Jody Brunel was not anonymous and gave a specific description, Officer Luries likely had the legal standing to make that stop. That part is not in dispute. What is in dispute is everything that came after. De-escalation is not a courtesy. It is a trained skill and, in Washington state, a legal requirement. California's Commission on Peace Officer Standards and Training puts it plainly in their manual. Officers should seek first to understand before attempting to be understood. There are many levels of control available before physical force ever becomes necessary. Force used purely for expediency, when other options exist, is not preferred. It is a failure. Officer Luries skipped every single level between contact and force. After Mark was tased, cuffed, and placed in a patrol car, officers ran the vehicle. It came back registered to Mark Domino. The car was his. Everything Jody Brunel saw, a man walking across a parking lot and checking a car, had a perfectly simple explanation. A man checking his own car before crossing over to ride his motorcycle home. But here is where things take a darker turn. When Officer Luries recounted the incident to another officer on scene, his version of events didn't quite match what the body camera had captured. He described Mark as super agitated, as someone who just wouldn't talk, as the aggressor in the situation. But the footage showed something different. It showed a confused man asking reasonable questions and getting no answers. It showed an officer who escalated rather than explained. Dr. Philip Stinson, a former police officer turned criminal justice professor at Bowling Green State University, has tracked over 10,000 officer arrest cases and found that roughly 6% involved false reports or statements. He has said publicly that the real number is likely even higher. Officers lie for many reasons: fear, self-preservation, or the belief that securing an arrest is worth bending the truth. Washington state law is clear that filing a materially false statement under oath constitutes first-degree perjury. But proving it, especially when prosecutors and police work side by side in the same communities, is rarely simple. Mark Domino was charged with resisting arrest and obstructing a law enforcement officer. He was released a few hours later. He chose to represent himself in court. He filed multiple motions to dismiss. He initially agreed to a plea deal that would have wiped the charges clean in 3 months, then changed his mind, rejected it, and decided to fight. He also filed a $5 million tort claim against the city. Outside the Asotin County Courthouse, on the day of one of his hearings, a crowd of protesters gathered demanding the charges be dropped. A man who went to work on a Monday morning and parked his motorcycle in a lot had become the center of a community's frustration with the way power is exercised in American streets. This case is not about whether Officer Luries had the right to make contact. He probably did. This case is about what happens in the seconds after contact. The decision to listen or to control, to investigate or to dominate, to serve a community, or to simply demand its submission. 32 seconds. That is all it took to turn an innocent man's workday into a years-long legal battle. 32 seconds of an officer who had every tool available to de-escalate, chose force instead, and then misrepresented what happened to cover it up. The parking lot camera caught everything. The body camera caught everything. And the truth, in this case, was never really lost. It was just ignored.